The morning air was cold and the sky was gray. Aisha sat on the footpath leaning against the broken wall of a bus stop, holding her daughter close. 6-year-old Rimsha was wrapped in an old shawl, her face tired but calm. Their only blanket was a worn-out bedsheet. They hadn't eaten anything since yesterday. Life had been hard for Aisha since her husband died in an accident 2 years ago. She had no family left. One by one, people turned away. She knocked on many doors, but no one helped. At last, she found a corner near the road where she could sleep safely with Rimsha beside her. That morning, as Aisha was gently brushing Rimsha's hair with her fingers, she saw something unusual. A black car stopped nearby. A man in a black suit stepped out. He looked around, then walked toward her. She quickly pulled Rimsha close, thinking he might be from the police, or someone asking her to move. But the man didn't look angry. He stopped in front of her and said politely, "Are you Aisha Malik?" Aisha was shocked. No one had called her full name in years. "Yes." "But who are you?" she asked nervously. The man opened his briefcase and pulled out an envelope. "I'm from a law firm. This letter is for you. Please read it carefully." Aisha took the envelope with shaking hands. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. The letter was typed on official paper. It read, "Dear Ms. Aisha Malik, we are pleased to inform you that you have inherited a private property, a mansion once owned by Mr. Iqbal Zaman. Please visit our office to complete the process." She frowned in confusion. "There must be a mistake. I don't know any Mr. Iqbal Zaman. Why would I inherit anything?" The man replied calmly, "There's no mistake. The lawyer will explain everything. If you're ready, I can take you to the office now." Aisha looked at Rimsha, who stared up with wide eyes. She didn't know what to think. This had to be some kind of joke, but something in the man's voice sounded serious, real. I can't just leave everything," she said, hesitating. "You won't need to return here again," the man replied with a small smile. That sentence touched her heart. The idea of never coming back to the cold streets, to hunger and fear, it felt like a dream. She stood up slowly, holding Rimsha's hand. "Okay, we'll come." Inside the car, Aisha and Rimsha sat in silence. The seats were soft, the smell clean. Rimsha kept looking out the window. She had never been inside a car before. After a short drive, the car stopped outside a tall building with glass walls. Aisha held Rimsha's hand tightly as they entered. The law office was quiet, elegant. A man in a gray suit greeted them. He had silver hair, a calm face, and glasses. "Welcome, Ms. Aisha," he said. "I am Mr. Faizan. Please, sit." Aisha sat nervously. Mr. Faizan opened a file and placed a large document in front of her. "This is the legal transfer of ownership for the Zaman estate, a mansion located outside the city on private land. It now belongs to you." Aisha was stunned. "But why me? I don't know this man." Mr. Faizan smiled gently. "You'll understand in time. Mr. Iqbal Zaman was a successful businessman. In his final days, he instructed us to give this property to you. There's a reason, but there is one condition." Aisha looked up. "What condition?" The lawyer leaned forward and said in a serious tone, "You must live in the house for 3 full months without breaking any rules written in the agreement. If you break even one rule, the ownership will be taken away." Her heart began to race. "What kind of rules?" He closed the file. "The details will be given to you when you reach the house. A caretaker will meet you there and explain everything. All you need to do now is sign." Aisha looked at the paper, then at Rimsha, who sat quietly on the chair beside her, feet swinging. The little girl had no idea what was happening, but she looked hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, this was their chance to escape the street life forever. With a deep breath, Aisha picked up the pen and signed her name. As she placed the pen down, the lawyer looked at her and said slowly, "Congratulations. The mansion is yours for now." Aisha felt a cold chill run down her spine. The way he said those last 2 words, "for now," made her uneasy. Something didn't feel right, but it was too late to turn back. The next morning, a black car waited outside the law office. Aisha and little Rimsha stepped in with nervous hearts. The mansion was far, the lawyer had said. You'll reach by evening, the driver had told her. The journey was long. Trees and fields passed by. Slowly the city disappeared behind them. Aisha kept thinking about the rules. What could be so serious that breaking one rule would take everything away? Rimsha leaned on her shoulder, whispering, Ami, will there be a soft bed? Aisha kissed her forehead. Yes, Mary John, softest bed and warm food. The car finally turned onto a narrow road. It was quiet. No shops, no people, just trees all around. At the end of the road stood a large black gate, taller than anything Aisha had seen. The driver pressed a button. The gate opened slowly, creaking like something old. Behind the gate stood a massive white mansion. Its walls were clean, the windows tall. But something about it felt cold, lonely. As the car stopped in front of the main door, a tall man walked out. He wore black clothes and gloves. His face was serious, but polite. I am Raymond, he said, the caretaker of this house. Aisha stepped out with Rimsha. We were sent here by the lawyer, she said softly. Yes, I've been waiting. Let me show you inside. The mansion's inside was even more beautiful. Shining floors, golden lights, paintings on the walls. Aisha couldn't believe her eyes. Ami, this is like a palace. Rimsha said, her tiny voice full of joy. Rehman nodded. Yes, but remember, this house has rules. Aisha's smile faded. Please, tell me, what are they? Rehman handed her a small book. All rules are written here. You must read and follow each one. Every room has a camera. If you break even one rule, the system will notify the lawyer. You'll be asked to leave, forever. Aisha opened the book. The first few rules seemed easy. You must sleep in the guest room only. Never enter the basement. Do not remove any photo frames from the wall. Dinner must be eaten before 8 p.m. Do not use the landline phone. She looked up, confused. Why such strange rules? Rehman only said, These are the wishes of Mr. Iqbal Zaman. Aisha hesitated. And if I don't follow one, the mansion is taken away, that's all. That night, Aisha and Rimsha were given clean clothes and warm food. Rimsha laughed and played in the hall. She was happy, truly happy, for the first time in years. But Aisha couldn't relax. Her eyes kept going to the basement door at the end of the hallway. It had a heavy lock and a camera right above it. Why were they not allowed there? She decided to read more of the rule book after Rimsha slept. At midnight, Aisha sat by the window, reading the tiny book again. One line caught her eye. If you hear noises at night, do not leave your room. Wait until morning. Her hands turned cold. Suddenly she heard it. A soft knock on her door, once, then twice. She froze. Rimsha was asleep on the bed, hugging a teddy bear. The knock came again, then a whisper through the door. Don't go. Downstairs. Aisha's. Heart nearly stopped. The voice wasn't Raymond's, it wasn't Rimsha's, it was a child. But she hadn't seen any other children here. She slowly stood up and walked to the door, pressing her ear against it. Silence. She opened the door quickly and found no one, only the empty hallway with cold lights. She looked toward the basement door. It was still locked, but she felt something. The next morning, Aisha woke up early. She hadn't slept much. Her mind kept going back to the knock on her door, the whisper, the cold hallway. Maybe it was a dream, she thought, trying to calm herself. Rimsha was still sleeping peacefully. Aisha quietly walked to the hallway and looked around. Everything was still, no sound, no people. She slowly walked past the basement door again, still locked, but this time she noticed something new. A tiny scratch on the floor just beside the basement door, like it had been opened before, recently. She touched the doorknob. Cold, very cold. Suddenly she heard footsteps behind her. It was Raymond, the caretaker. "You're not allowed near that door," he said in a deep voice. Aisha turned quickly. "I wasn't trying to open it, I heard something last night, a knock on my door, a voice." Rahman's face changed slightly. His voice became slower. "There are no children here, just you and your daughter." "But I heard," he interrupted her. "This house is very old. Sometimes it makes sounds, that's all." Aisha didn't believe him. But she didn't argue. He walked away without saying anything more. Later that day, Aisha and Rimsha explored the mansion. They found a small library filled with old books. Rimsha laughed and played with a globe while Aisha looked through the shelves. Suddenly, a photo frame on the wall caught her attention. It showed a young woman standing near the same mansion. She looked sad. There was no name on the photo. Just a date, 1993. Next to it, another photo, a man holding a baby. The man looked very much like Rahman. Her heart skipped a beat. She called out, "Rimsha, come here." Rimsha ran to her. "Yes, Ami." Aisha pointed to the picture. "Do you see this man? Doesn't he look like the caretaker?" Rimsha stared at it. "It's him. But he looks younger." Aisha felt something was wrong. The lawyer said, "This mansion was inherited from Iqbal Zaman, but he never mentioned who else lived here. Who were these people?" That evening, Aisha was served dinner early. Rahman said the kitchen would close by 8 p.m., as per the rules. But Rimsha wasn't hungry. She wanted to play, so Aisha let her eat later. When she took the first bite of food, she noticed something strange, a bitter taste in the soup. She stopped eating. Her mind flashed with fear. What if something is wrong with the food? She threw it away when Rahman wasn't looking. At night, Aisha again sat by the window thinking. Suddenly, she heard a small giggle. She stood up. Another giggle, soft, like a child. This time it was coming from inside the mansion. She opened her room door. Nothing. Then she looked at the painting in the hallway. It was one of the rules. Do not remove any photo frames. But something inside her said to check. She carefully took the frame off the wall. Behind it, a hole. A small square hole in the wall like a window. She looked through it. Her eyes widened. She saw a dark staircase lit by a red light, going down, a secret way into the basement, and right at the bottom of the stairs, a child was standing there. He looked up and whispered. Aisha pulled back from the small hole in the wall, heart pounding. She had just seen a child, a real boy, standing at the bottom of a hidden staircase. His eyes were full of fear, and his words still echoed in her mind. Don't trust the man in black. He locked me here. She sat on the floor, breathing fast. Her hands were shaking. Why is there a child in the basement? What is Rahman? Hiding. She wanted to run, take Rimsha, and leave. But where would she go? She had nothing outside. The world had treated her like she didn't exist. Until this mansion. But now, this place didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a trap. Next day, she acted normal. She smiled at Rahman. She helped Rimsha eat breakfast and played with her. But inside, Aisha's mind was racing. She needed to find that secret staircase. She waited until night. Once Rimsha slept, Aisha carefully moved the picture frame again and peeked through the hole. The child was gone, but the red light was still glowing faintly. She grabbed a small flashlight and whispered to herself, Tonight I find the truth. She tiptoed through the quiet hallway and reached the painting again. This time, she gently pushed on the wall. To her surprise, a part of the wall clicked open, revealing a small hidden door. It was narrow and dark inside. Aisha crawled through. Dust filled the air. Cobwebs touched her face. The smell was old, like something forgotten. She reached the staircase. Each step creaked under her feet. Her flashlight shook in her hand. As she went lower, the air got colder. At the bottom, she saw a long corridor with rusty doors on both sides. It didn't look like a part of the beautiful mansion above. This place was different, like a prison. Then she heard it again. Please, help me. She turned and saw a boy, around 8 years old, sitting in the corner of a dark room. He looked thin, scared, and tired. Aisha ran to him. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" "I don't know how long I've been here," the boy whispered. "My name is Daniel. He locked me in." "Who? Rahman?" The boy nodded. "He tells the lawyer lies. I was brought here after my parents died. They said this house would be safe, but he locked me in the basement." Tears came to Aisha's eyes. "How many days have you eaten?" "Sometimes he gives food, but sometimes he forgets." She held his hand. "I'm going to get you out." Suddenly they heard a door slam upstairs. Footsteps, heavy and fast. Raymond was awake. Aisha turned off her flashlight. "Shh," she whispered to Danielle. "Stay quiet." The footsteps came closer, then stopped. Aisha looked up the staircase. A dark shadow stood at the top, holding something in his hand. Then Raymond's voice echoed through the basement. "You broke the rule, Aisha. Now you'll lose everything." Aisha froze. She could see the dark shadow of Raymond standing at the top of the hidden stairs. His voice was calm but cold. "You should not have come here." Aisha held Danielle's hand tightly. Her mind raced. She looked around, but there was no window, no back door. Only that small staircase, and Raymond was standing at the top of it. Danielle whispered, "He never lets anyone leave once they—" "Find me?" Aisha's heart beat faster, but she stayed strong for the boy. "You locked a child down here," she shouted up the stairs. "You can't hide this forever." Raymond didn't reply. He simply closed the door. Click. The sound of the lock turning made her chest tighten. They were trapped. For a few minutes, silence filled the air. Daniel sat on the floor, pulling his knees to his chest. Aisha knelt beside him. "I'll get us out of here," she said. "I promise." She turned on her flashlight again and began looking around the basement. The walls were old, damp, and cracked. One of the rooms had boxes full of dusty papers. She picked up one of the files. It had an old photo inside. A man standing with a woman and two small children. Written on it was a name. Iqbal Zaman, family 1993. Her eyes widened. Iqbal Zaman, the man who gave her this mansion? She looked closer. One of the children in the photo looked exactly like Rahman. "He's not just a caretaker," Aisha whispered. "He lived here." Aisha dug deeper through the boxes. She found old legal documents, property transfers, wills, even hospital records. One paper shocked her. Emergency medical file, Rahman Zaman, age 12, status. Removed from house after fire incident. Fire incident? She kept reading. Another paper mentioned a young boy disappearing from the mansion 20 years ago. It was never solved. Suddenly, it all made sense. Rahman once lived here. Something terrible happened in this house, and now he was repeating the same darkness. Daniel looked up at her. "Why did he bring me here?" Aisha held his hand. "Because he's trapped in the past, but you're not part of it, and we're getting out." She noticed a metal pipe along the ceiling. It led to a vent. "If I can open that," she said, "maybe Rimsha will hear us." She climbed up on an old chair and hit the pipe with her flashlight. Bang, bang, bang. She kept hitting it, hoping the sound would travel. Then she screamed into the vent. "Rimsha, baby, wake up! Ami is down here!" She repeated it again and again until her voice cracked. Meanwhile, in the mansion above, little Rimsha woke up. She sat up in bed. She heard faint banging sounds. And a voice. Her mother's voice. "Ami?" she whispered. She got out of bed and walked down the hall, rubbing her eyes. She saw the same painting on the wall, the one Aisha had moved before. Something told her to look behind it. With her small hands, Rimsha pulled the frame aside. Her eyes widened. She saw a hole. Back in the basement, Aisha had nearly lost her voice. She sat down beside Daniel, exhausted. Then suddenly, she heard a soft voice coming from above. "Ami? Are you in there?" Tears came to her eyes. "Rimsha, I'm here, baby. Listen carefully." Rimsha's small hands touched the cold wall behind the painting. She peered into the hole and heard her mother's voice again, weak but clear. "Rimsha, listen to me, sweetheart. You have to help me." Her heart raced. She was only 6 years old, but she knew something was wrong. "Ami, where are you?" she whispered. "We're trapped in the basement," Aisha replied. "There's a staircase behind the wall. You need to open the secret door." Rimsha nodded, even though no one could see her. She pushed the wall gently. It didn't move. She looked around the hallway. It was dark, quiet. She was all alone, but she wasn't afraid. She placed both hands on the wall and pushed harder. Click. The secret door opened. Rimsha stepped into the narrow passage. It was dusty and dark, but she walked slowly, whispering, "I'm coming, Ami. I'll find you." Downstairs, Aisha held her breath, hoping her daughter wouldn't get lost. Danielle looked up at her. "She's just a little girl." Aisha smiled through her fear. "She's stronger than anyone I know." After a few minutes, they heard soft footsteps. Then a light appeared. Rimsha's small face peeked through the basement doorway. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw her mother. "Ami! Rimsha, you did it!" Aisha cried, running to hug her. She kissed her daughter again and again. Danielle stood beside them, amazed. "You saved us," Aisha whispered. But their joy was short. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed from upstairs. "Where do you think you're going?" It was Rahman. He stood at the top of the stairs again, holding something in his hand. A metal rod. His face was twisted in anger. "You broke the rules. No one leaves until I say so." Aisha pulled Rimsha behind her. Danielle held her other hand. She looked up at Rahman, standing in their only way out. "You don't scare me anymore," she said firmly. Rahman stepped down slowly. "You were nothing before you came here. I gave you this life. You don't deserve it." "This house never belonged to you," Aisha said. "You hurt people to keep it. But it's over." Rahman moved closer. Then suddenly, Danielle stepped forward. "You locked me in here for years, but I'm not afraid of you anymore." Rahman raised the metal rod, but before he could swing it, Rimsha screamed, "Stop!" And then, the doctor behind Rahman flew open. 2 police officers rushed in with flashlights. Behind them stood the old lawyer, Mr. Hakim, looking shocked. "What is going on here?" the lawyer shouted. Aisha stared in disbelief. It was Rimsha's screams. The vent. The sound had traveled to another part of the mansion, where the lawyer was having a late-night review of estate files. He followed the sound, and CA. The next morning, sunlight shone brightly over the mansion, but this time it felt warm, not cold. Inside the grand living room, Aisha sat with Rimsha on her lap and Danielle beside her. For the first time, there was peace in the house. Mr. Hakim, the lawyer, sat across from them with several documents. "Aisha," he said gently, "I'm sorry. I had no idea what Rahman had been hiding. The clause was never meant to trap you. It was written by the real owner, Iqbal Zaman, to protect his house." Aisha listened carefully. "This mansion was left for someone kind," he continued. "Someone who had nothing but a good heart." He looked at her and smiled. "That person is you." Aisha's eyes filled with tears. She looked around at the shining floor, the tall ceilings, the big windows. "All my life," she whispered. "I slept under broken roofs, and now this?" Rimsha hugged her tightly. "We're never going back to the bus stop, right, Ami?" "Never again," Aisha said, kissing her forehead. Danielle looked around the room. His eyes sparkled, not because of the house, but because he was free. "Where will I go now?" he asked softly. Aisha held his hand. "You're not going anywhere alone," she said. "You'll stay here, with us." The boy smiled. A real smile, maybe the first in years. Days passed. The mansion became a home. Aisha turned the big dining room into a study space. She started helping poor children who had no place to learn. She opened a small kitchen in the back to feed kids, on the street, just like she and Rimsha once were. People from the neighborhood began to visit. They no longer feared the mansion. They saw laughter, kindness, and new hope behind its gates. And in the garden, Danielle planted flowers. Every morning, He watered them. He named one flower after his mother, whom he barely remembered. "This is her smile," he once said to Rimsha. One evening as the sun was setting, Aisha sat outside with both children. The house behind them glowed with life, music, food, laughter. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you." "To whoever gave me this chance." Rimsha leaned her head on Aisha's shoulder. "Ami?" "Yes, Beta?" "Are we rich now?" Aisha smiled gently and said, "No, my love. We are something better. We are safe. We are loved. And we are home."